Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of the An Action Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Tommy DiNucci. I'm here, as always, with Mikey Messier, and it's been a minute. We were on a little break, a little sabbatical, all good things. I was off making a movie. Mike was working on some other projects, but we've got a lot to say, and we're happy to see you. And we're excited to chat about Merry Xmas, which is a movie that just came out. It just was released on November 18th. So, Mike, I think for the first time, this is a movie that we're going to be talking about that literally just came out. So I'm excited about that. How the hell are you, Mikey? It's been a while.
I'm good, buddy. I'm good, Tommy, and good to see you again in the audience. And as a matter of fact, I was able to see you in person last month. I took a road trip up to New England. I got some loose ends unloosed or ended, so to speak, as far as a couple of video projects, and got to see a lot of people, yourself included. And now I'm back here in Florida and happy to be here again. And actually did watch our featured presentation subject matter this morning. I watched it on Amazon Prime, so people can rent it, I believe, for $4.99, which gives you like 2 days worth of access to Merry Xmas 2022, or you can buy the movie for, I believe, $9.99 to have it in perpetuity, so to speak.
I actually watched Merry Xmas again as well just last night. So it was fun. Believe it or not, and a lot of people are like, get out of here. That was the first time you watched it all the way through. And it was. That was really the very first time that I watched Merry Xmas from start to finish. I had seen a rough cut earlier in the process. I had to do some ADR. So I saw some scenes, but this was my first time seeing it from start to finish with all the titles and all the music and the credits. So always a different presentation when you get to finally watch the movie all the way through. But Mike, I have to ask you, are you coming at us today from Wayne Newton's living room in Las Vegas? I see a big baby grand piano in the background, a
Well,
really cool rock wall. Where the hell are you?
I, I've had some business transactions go my way, Tommy, so I'm able to kind of update my living atmosphere. But I don't want to brag, so it's just
Oh, it looks. I
just
love
making
what you
myself
did.
comfortable.
I love what you did with the place. I really
Yes,
do.
it's nice.
Um, that being said, let's just dive right into it, Mike. So, real quick backstory on what's been going on. I've been away. I don't think we've done a show since probably early November.
I believe, yeah,
Was it early November? Yeah, I went off and I shot a movie called The Collective. I couldn't really talk
yes,
about it much at the time. I remember on our last couple episodes, I was kind of hinting at it. But it's a movie called The Collective. It's a straight up action movie. It's starring Ruby Rose, Tyrese Gibson, and of course, Lucas Till, who plays the lead in the film, and Don Johnson. It was great to work with Don Johnson again. And there are a couple other really cool cast members that were playing tight to the vest, but we will eventually be announcing those down the road. So this was a great chance to make an old school action movie, which is just really focuses on the excitement, moving the story down the page, and really it's just like
right.
fight scene after fight scene and shootout and just a lot going on in this one. So I had a blast making it, but it's over now, and now I'll be just focusing on getting in the editing room. Gonna go over to Los Angeles in a few weeks
Oh,
and
that's great.
work on the editing process. So who knows, Mike? We might just be doing one of these episodes remotely from LA at some point. Um, but that's what's been going on, and now the winter's here, and for me, winter time is always a great season of creative work, writing season. I call it
Yes,
the writing season. For other parts of the country, it might not quite be the same, but here in New England, we get these nasty winters. The snow just dumps on us. And if you're not sitting in your office writing during those snowy days, you're doing something wrong, because let me tell you, those are the best days to kind of just flip the laptop open and get cranking on some pages. So, to all the writers that are coming at you in a wintry destination, take advantage of those snow days, man. I can't tell you enough. It's easy to want to just fuck around and watch TV on a snow day. But those are the days that I find in the past I've gotten the most work done, when it's just like, you kind of that you're like Jack in The Shining. It's just like a blizzard
Well,
all
you
around.
I remember years ago, Tommy, I asked you what your favorite Star Wars movie was, and you said The Empire Strikes Back, which is mine as well. And we talked about it a little bit at the time. I don't know if you remember because Yoda is training Luke in the swamp for a good portion of that movie, and they also have a lot of snow scenes early in the film, right? So I
The
always
Hoth
think of you as a
system.
guy that, yeah, you enjoy the wintry months, man. I'll give you credit. For a lot of folks, myself included, the New England winter was tough. The days are very short. The darkness comes in, but for you, it's almost like a recharge because it helps you concentrate. I think.
It does, Mike. Listen, and this ain't a bad thing, and I'm not knocking it. I love it, but my life has become very complex over the last couple years, and there's been a lot of projects to tend to, and with every project comes people that you have to communicate with, and this big web of constant work, and sometimes
Yeah,
that comes with a set of pressure. In the winter, that pressure seems to go away a little bit. In the winter, especially in New England, it seems like I said, when they dump a foot of snow on you, everybody seems to chill a little bit, no pun intended. And you can kind of just like take a breath. So the winter is a nice chance for me to breathe. That said, though, I do have a lot of work to do. I'm going to be working on a screenplay. It's actually the screenplay adaptation of the documentary that just came out that I co directed with Chad Verdi, which is called My Father, Muhammad Ali. So I'm working on the narrative script of that this winter, and I'm ready for some snowstorms. I'm ready for some isolation. Bring it on. As Kim Kalen checks in, hey Kim, she also loves Empire Strikes Back. It's a downer, man. You gotta love Empire because it's just a downer. I think that's what they say in Clerks, Kevin Smith's Clerks. It's just a downer, man.
I
Check
think it's
out.
the best one. It's the best storytelling I think of any of the 17 or 20 Star Wars movies. I still say Empire's when like character development and storytelling and the teacher student relationship between Yoda and Luke. I thought all those things were big winners in that one.
Yeah, and we find out the truth that Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are in fact father and son. I mean, that's a pretty big deal right there. So, no question about it. We could do a whole episode on our favorite Star Wars movies down the road, and who the hell knows? We probably will do that once we run out of topics because I only got so many movies to talk about. But in the meantime, let's jump right into Merry Christmas, Mike. The holiday season
Sure.
is upon us. It's funny. I'm not going to keep talking about this, but I just got off of this movie and it's kind of funny when you're working on a film, like life stops that, like your normal life becomes so secondary that things like shopping for Christmas and even like, oh man, I got to reach out to family and friends, all that stuff gets put on the shelf. So yesterday I tackled a little bit of Christmas shopping. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I was really, not to sound like a total cornball, I put my Christmas tree up and I am full blown in the Christmas holiday spirit right now. So, in keeping with that,
That's great.
let's talk about this holiday movie called Merry Xmas, which was directed by Jacob Cooney and written by Jacob Cooney and Molly Jacobs, which is interesting because Jacob's first name is Jacob and Molly Jacobs is her last name. So, kind of kind of two Jacobs writing this thing. It's the tale of two Jacobs
Right.
that penned
That's
this one.
interesting.
It was produced
They
by
okay, I'm
they're
sorry.
just
They're not a
I don't
couple. They're not a
no,
couple in real life.
they're not a couple. They have two different names. It's just that Jacob Cooney, the director's
Right.
first name, Jacob,
Yeah, that was throwing me.
co-writer Molly Jacobs' last name. So this movie was produced by Chad Verdi Jr., Paul Luba, David Gear, and Chelsea Vale, who also plays Cassandra, which is a very big part in the film. And we shot this movie actually just within this calendar year. We shot this movie in March of 2022, right here in Warwick, Rhode Island, at the Crown Plaza Hotel, which is sort of like the if there could be a home field, to like a stadium, I would say that the Crown Plaza Hotel is sort of the home hotel of all Verdi Productions films. We've made so many movies in that place. Everything. I remember we shot Bleed for This. Portions of Bleed for This were shot at that hotel many years ago. Um, we shot a film called Junction, which we shot over the summer. We shot some scenes in there. Really, it's just it's a great location, and the people there are really great. So shout out to the Crown Plaza over in Warwick for always being a nice backdrop for a lot of our films. And of course, it makes sense because when filming in a hotel, it's a perfect scenario because your talent, some of your crew, hell, they're just down the hallway. So it makes those call
Right.
times in the morning a lot easier when your transpo is literally going from the second floor down to the makeup room on the first floor. It certainly makes your day run a little more efficiently. So, Mary Xmas was shot in a real short period of time. I want to say that this was a 12-day shoot all in. Um,
Wow.
so you got to imagine, you're running at a breakneck pace, 6 days on, one, two, three, four, five, six. You get a day off, and then you come back and you bang out those last 6 days. So it's a very grueling schedule. But the great thing is when you watch this movie, you never realize that there was that much of a whip being cracked, just in terms of how to bang out all these scenes and get everything in. And it's a challenge to make a feature length film in a couple weeks. And director Jacob Cooney and the producing team pulled it off on this one. So I think that's a feat in itself, buddy. But
And
why don't we get
don't forget Ryan Sweeney, correct, as the cinematographer. Was it our buddy Ryan Sweeney behind the camera on this one?
Ryan Sweeney was behind the camera, and him and Jacob Cooney had a really great kind of system on how to photograph this movie in such a way that not to get too technical and caught up into the technical minutia, but maybe that's what people want to hear on this show. It is a filmmaking podcast. One of the things that Jake and Ryan did was you'll notice a large majority of this film is shot in the bar location of the hotel, and they designed some really nice schemes where you could almost, and I'm using my pinkies to indicate the span of a camera, but you could almost cross cover these two sections of the bar so that you'd get the three actors on one side and a piece of coverage, and then you'd get the other handful of actors on the other side. And we could shoot these long, long scenes, these, 3, 4, 5 page scenes, and get two sets of coverage at once working with two cameras. So there was definitely a lot of science that went into, how the hell are we going to shoot all these scenes in 12 days? So that is definitely a nod to camera team and Ryan Sweeney, director of photography, and Jacob Cooney, the director of the whole film. Just want to quickly go over the plot. Mike, do you want to read the plot for us? Do you
Sure,
have that?
buddy. It's the
Plot
plot
reading.
of this film, Merry Xmas, and for folks that are looking it up, there's a couple of other films with a similar title. Make sure you're watching the 2022 version, and I believe Vanessa Angel and Kieran uh, Hutchison, if I'm saying his name right, they're on the uh, cover art, correct?
Yes, you'll see Vanessa and Kieran right on the cover there. And like Mike said, be aware of the 2012 Mary Xmas. This is the 2022 one.
Correct. So, two unwitting ex high school sweethearts who, while stranded at a random hotel bar in a snowstorm, discover their first love memories, maybe more than that, after revisiting their past and present lives. And that's a pretty good plot summary. I mean, I if you don't mind, I could give a few more details. It's basically there's
Please
this
do.
horrendous storm. There's this horrendous storm. It takes place in Rhode Island, which is accurate, and we do get tremendous storms in Rhode Island that basically lock people down. So I think we start off the movie with the Cassandra, played by Chelsea Vale, and the Kieran character, who's kind of the male lead, and it's upon impact, we find out that Cassandra's kind of a materialistic girl, living in a material world. So she's got this a bit older boyfriend who's kind of a sugar daddy type. In some ways, it's not that extreme. But basically, we're seeing the dynamic between them. And then we meet our friendly bartender at the hotel, played by Jason London. And he kind of has an interesting backstory about why he's no longer with his former wife and their daughter. And then we kind of meet a couple that I thought was really a very strong scene cast of Eric Lutz and Amy Wade, I believe, are playing I guess, a little bit older couple who are kind of like, they become almost like patronly to the other characters. And then we meet Vanessa Angel's character, who that's the she doesn't realize it at the time, but she and Kieran's character were romantically involved going way back to when they were 18 years old in high school. And they had a very dramatic breakup, as many high school students do, with a first love. And some grudges were held that become revealed later in the film. And the way that Vanessa's character, I'm forgetting her name off the top of my head, but the way that she and Cassandra kind of connect leads Cassandra to kind of push her current boyfriend to be nice to his ex girlfriend from way back when, which I thought was an interesting dynamic, actually. And I thought Chelsea played those pretty well, because you might question the motivation, want to have her friend be so kind to the ex girlfriend, but perhaps in the female way, it's to get intel, to get information on the guy, you know. So there was a lot of things going on. Scout Lions. There's some flashback scenes. A lot of this movie takes place in the present day in the hotel. To me, Tommy, it kind of reminded me of Gilligan's Island in a sense. Like, you have these stranded characters of different walks of life that are put together, where they have to kind of deal with each other for emotional support through the holidays. And luckily, they do have food and shelter. But what they don't have is their families, for the most part, for Christmas. So they become a little mini temporary family around the bar, which I thought was interesting. And then on top of that, the production values are kind of raised because you do these flashbacks where you see the young characters, the younger versions at the 1993 Winter Ball. And I thought, Scout did an excellent job playing the younger version of the character who had her heart broken. I think I got about all of it, buddy. What do you think?
Sounds like you touched all the bases there. That's the basic premise. There's a definitely an isolation feel. I like your Gilligan's Island kind of reference. Uh, and yeah, it's this feeling of, hey, during the holidays, you don't necessarily have to be blood related to get that family feel, and you can still connect with people. And I think that, not to sound corny, and I told you earlier I'm in the holiday spirit, so bear with me if I am being a little cheesy. But I do think this is a time of year when people kind of are a little nicer to their fellow person. When we see people out in the streets, say hello to friends and people that you meet. It's right in the goddamn Holly Jolly Christmas song. So I feel like that sentiment is definitely alive and well in this film. It's like, hey, we're not family, but we're stuck here. Let's make the most of it. And yeah, let's kind of go down the cast. We talked about um, Vanessa Angel, who's just terrific. I've had a chance to work with Vanessa on a couple of movies. Vanessa, of course, is in Johnny and Clyde. But before that, I was just a big fan of Vanessa Angel. The movie Kingpin was definitely in heavy rotation for me. Love that film. It's to me, one of the funniest movies out there. So getting a chance to work with Vanessa, who was in that film, and also it's kind of funny. There's these odd little beacons of like, hey man, like I love that movie. Like Vanessa's in a movie called Spies Like Us, which is an '80s classic with a couple of real heavyweight legends,
Bill
Chevy Chase.
Murray and Dan Aykroyd.
It's actually Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, you
Um,
got it.
but yeah, she's in
Chevy
that
Chase
film
and Dan
too. So
Aykroyd. Yeah.
we're talking about a woman who's just been in some iconic, legendary films. So cool to get a chance to work with her. Um, and it's kind of funny because I was playing a British rock star in this movie, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But Vanessa actually, was born in England, so I was a little nervous. I was like, oh shit, I gotta break out this fake British accent in front of somebody who knows damn well what a real British accent sounds like. So I was a little nervous, but she was so cool about it, and actually encouraged me to incredible heights because I would do the voice, and she'd be laughing and be like, "Oh my god, this is so funny." She just Vanessa's awesome because she gave me such a sense of confidence on set, that I was doing the right thing in terms of like the choices that I made. Because if you watch the movie, I made some outrageous choices in this film,
Right.
and I was lucky enough to um, have a director that really like was willing to let me fly, and just Jacob really let it rip. And There was no wrong way to approach anything. He kind of let me just be unbridled with my instincts. So Vanessa gave me a lot of confidence, and she's terrific in this movie. And really, I mean, she's our quarterback. Not to go heavy on the sports references this early in the day, but she's the one who's got the ball every play, and she kind of uh, leads the charge on this one, and is a really strong lead, and definitely one of the reasons why people should watch this movie.
I think
And then, of
she's in,
course,
I would say she's in about 80 to 85% of the scenes, just a ballpark, I would imagine from my memory.
yeah, she is, and she. I think you'll notice too, Mike, because you're fresh off of a watch of this. She really gets to run the gamut of emotions. Her character
Right.
is funny in certain scenes. We open up, she's completely heartbroken, and she kind of builds herself back up. She's funny, charming, just a great performance by Vanessa. And not to give it away, but there is a happy ending in this one for Vanessa's character. And of course, she played the love interest, the high school love interest, and eventual love interest of Kieran Hutchinson, who Kieran is just a solid actor and just a terrific guy to be around. You just never know, man. There's a lot of uh, alpha personalities in this business, and there's a lot of people who come to set with a certain sense of bravado and energy that's just sometimes
Mm.
kind of like, all right, I've had enough. Uh, Kieran's the exact opposite. He was very much, the leading male in this movie, but had zero ego, was super respectable to everyone on set and the other actors that he worked with. Great in terms of like being there for off camera and in helping pull the best performance out of everyone. And frankly, just like an awesome guy to be around. You have to
He's
spend. Well, I was just gonna say, you spend a lot of time with people on a movie set, and often I've been on movies where you shoot a scene and then they have to change the lights or they have to do a turnaround. So it's going to be like 20, 30 minutes. And usually on most movies, during that 20, 30 minutes, everyone's going back to their trailer or to their holding room or to their dressing room, and they kind of fuck off and stay to themselves.
right.
This movie was different. And, I'm saying this because Kieran's personality, in between takes, I mean, we would all just kind of hang out in the same room. There were a couple couches that we would all just kind of chill on, and the cast very much, you'd mentioned we were like a family in the movie. The cast was a family on set too. There
Right.
wasn't a lot of like, I'll be in my dressing room, call me when you're ready. It was kind of like, all right, we're all just going to go hang out on these couches. Let us know when you need us. And with that comes a lot of fellowship, a lot of, hey, how are you? What's going on? What'd you do last night? Where'd you eat? And everyone just kind of becomes friendly with each other. So, right down the list, this was a very friendly, fun cast to be a part of. Probably, out of all the movies that I've acted in, this is probably one of the more tight knit casts that I've been, chance to work with. We had mentioned uh, Chelsea Vale earlier. Chelsea Vale also produced this movie alongside Paul Luba, Chad Verdi Jr., and David Gear. And Chelsea wore a couple of hats on this one. She obviously, like you said, turned in a really great performance with Cassandra, but also had to be thinking about a lot of just the nuts and bolts production aspects of the film, which she was very heavy handed in. So always challenging when you got to kind of put your producer cap on 1 minute and your acting cap on in the next minute. But Chelsea did a really terrific job with that. And then, of course, Jason London, who another guy that I've had a chance to work with, a friend of mine named Dan Hunter, a very close friend of mine,
Oh,
directed
yes. Dan's a nice
Jason.
guy.
Dan's terrific. When he's not drinking, he's a great guy to be around.
When he's not facing his demons, right?
Yeah, when he's sober, he's cool.
Yeah.
But basically, I worked with Jason London before, and he's a very talented actor and brings a wild energy to set that's very kind of exciting and fun. And again, keeps everybody on the team laughing. Makes some really great choices. He's the kind of guy who, he's been on so many movie sets. I don't know the number offhand,
Right.
but he's probably been in 50 movies, maybe more. And when you
If
have
I
that much
could, Tommy,
experience,
just to give a little background, because we had mentioned that I think Jason London's big hit from the '90s was Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused. Am I right on that one?
You are on the money. He's in a very iconic film, like you said. Dazed and Confused is one of those movies that's kind of stood the test of time. And when you're talking coming of age films, it's probably on many people's Mount Rushmore of teenage coming of age movies. So yeah, Jason London has been doing this for a long time. And back to my point, when you've been on so many movie sets and you've been a part of so many different scenes, it's just like really cool to work with a guy like that because he'll see something in the script and look at the blocking and look at the space that we're in and be like, you know what? Maybe I should grab this like this and I'll just hand it to you here off camera, whatever it is. Just he's been on so many movie sets that a lot of times for an actor, like the acting's not the hard part. It's the little beats in the minutia. Like I've got to say this line and grab this cookie and then write this thing down on a napkin and a lot of like little steps you got to
Business.
remember business that you have to remember in between the actual saying the lines part. And Jason's just really good at simplifying all the business and making it easy and little things like, hey man, this is off camera. If you got to grab your pen, just put the pen right here and you can just come up with it. Again, that's just
Right.
one tiny example of just like being a wily vet. Um,
Hmm.
so I really love working with people that have that kind of experience. You mentioned Eric Lutz and you mentioned Amy Wade. They play sort of the experienced couple at the bar that's been through it all, and like you said, they kind of take on a father and motherly role among the gang. They were terrific, man. I love Eric Lutz. I love Amy Wade. I've worked with Eric quite a few times. In fact, the movie The Collective that I just worked on, Eric had a part in that, which was really fun to work with him.
He was in
Um,
your film Vault a couple of years ago too, as one
he
of the
was
buddies.
he was involved. I produced a film which you actually co-wrote called Anders Manor, which the name got changed to just The Manor. But yeah, Eric was in that too. So Eric and I go way back. So it was fun for us on this movie to have that. When I had worked with him in the past, we weren't this close. We kind of just knew each other, through being both
Right.
being actors from Rhode Island. But on this one, like our friendship level had matured, if you will. So it was fun. Like we were just buddies from day one. There was no getting to know you process, if that makes
Sure.
sense. So Eric and I had a blast, and I got to sit next to him in the bar in a lot of the scenes, and a lot of my characters like silliness was kind of grounded by his performance, and I could. It's always great in a scene when you're being like a really silly when you're acting in a really silly scene and you have to do a lot of ridiculous things. It's so nice to have someone in the scene that's kind of grounded and based in reality that can kind of anchor that, and that
Yeah, you
causes
guys had
great,
some good moments.
yeah, great little back and forth. So I had a blast working with Eric, and Amy's terrific as well, and kind of again, not to harp on the word grounded, but kind of grounded the movie with some nice emotions.
Well, one thing I will give Amy Wade a lot of credit because I think she normally is a blonde, and I think she was wearing a wig for this because I didn't recognize her at first. Because I'm pretty sure a wig, unless she dyed her hair gray, because she normally has that sunshiny blonde hair. And I thought she and Eric did really well. Eric did make a name for himself, I believe, with the show Caroline in the City back in the '90s. He was a big part of that show, I believe. Kieran Hutchinson, I wanted to mention. I think he got a lot of success with the show One Hill that a lot of people would recognize him from.
One
Was he
Tree
on that,
Hill,
Tommy?
One Tree Hill,
Yeah.
yeah. Kieran
Uh-huh.
had a run on One Tree Hill. He's a Kiwi, self-proclaimed
New
Kiwi.
Zealander, right?
That's a New Zealander. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Vanessa Angel. Vanessa Angel was on the show Weird Science, not the film, but there was a TV show on the USA Network for years, and Vanessa Angel took over the buxom robot character. So, I mean, my point is just you have some real heavy hitters in this cast, and I thought you did very well, Tommy. As I kind of thought of your character as a mix of Johnny Rotten and Billy Idol, maybe more of the Billy Idol look, but the but kind of like from day one, we know that this guy, from moment one in the movie, we know what he's after. You know what I mean? He's kind of eyeing up the Vanessa Angel's character and some of the other female characters. So I thought you played that very well. You had some real funny zingers Like there was one scene in this movie where the characters were kind of saying things that were kind of obvious, and your character just pointed it out in a funny way, like how obvious they were being. Which I think it's like that's the type of humor that if you pull it off, it's going to be great. Pull it off, it's going to be lame. And I think you got it right. So there was a lot of fun things I could see, and you changed your look quite a bit for this type of so to speak, and just a lot of cool things about this movie. Tommy, did you have any? Not to get you off track, but I wanted to ask you about your physical formation and the accent. Like, was it a collaboration with you and the director, or did you kind of just have the ball and ran with it yourself as far as how to develop your rock and roller, the lead singer
Let's
of
let's
Burning Trees?
yeah, let's jump into that, and it's kind of fun. That kind of works with a couple of our comments here. Kim Kaling says, Merry Xmas was fun. How did you prepare for your role, Tommy? Did you have to learn that accent? Great job. Thank you very much. Miss Ash is in the building. Podcast is back. We're so happy to be back. It feels fun to see my buddy Mike here, see some little action in the comment chain, and nice work in Merry Xmas, Thurston. Thank you so much, dear. It's much appreciated. Um, this was a fun character to play. I'm going to give you the quick backstory. As everybody knows, movies take this very fun route. First off, look at this blast of light I have directly in the middle of my face.
Oh, right in
Um,
your head.
I
Yeah,
hope that's not distracting anyone at home. It's just the sun, and there's not much I can do about it for now. But the backstory goes a little something like this as I shift to get this light off of my face. Um,
shift the
movies
computer.
take
Yeah,
movies take a long time to get off the ground, and I remember reading this script while I was like riding my bike, stationary bike, of course. So it'd be really difficult to read a script if you were actually pedaling ass down the road. But I'm on my little stationary bike and I'm reading this script, and David Gear sent it to me probably 2 years ago, maybe even three Christmases ago. It was a while ago. And I read it, and I read the part Thurston, and he was like, "Oh, bro, you'd be great at this role." And I read it and I was like, yeah, this is fun, man. This rock star, kind of irreverent rock star stuff. And he wasn't scripted as a British guy, but I said to myself, man, if I played this, like, it'd be fun to do a British accent and play him up as this Billy Idol type rock star. That's just when I think of rock and roll for some reason, I think of British guys. I don't know what it is. Like there's
sure.
something next level about that British rock star. They have this kind of like almost like a Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean type aesthetic where they're kind of just straddling the line at all times, and it's kind of a fun approach. So right off the bat, I was like, oh man, this guy should be British. And then of course a couple years went by, movies go into turnaround, and it just didn't get off the ground. Uh, and then finally, when I found out that the movie was happening and I was offered the part, I remember we did a table read literally the night before we started shooting. And I talked to Jacob, the director, and I was like, listen, I've been thinking about toying with a British accent for this character, but I'm not sure. And he said, well, play it straight in the table read and let's just like see how it feels. Like, no accent. And I said, okay. So we did the table read, and I thought it was great. I thought it went great. We got a lot of laughs. My character's part was popping, and I was just playing him as like more like a bro, more like a dude, bro, kind of like an American rock star kind of guy.
Right.
And then I went up to Jake, and I thought it went well. I thought, like, okay, cool. Fuck the British accent. We're not going to go in that direction. It would have been fun, but. And then, of course, Jacob comes up to me at the end of the table read, and he's like, all right, let's go with the British accent. And I'm like, oh,
Huh.
okay. Uh, you know, After doing the whole read in my regular
Right.
accent, now I'm like
What?
going
What?
through and
Yeah.
reformulating like what it's gonna all sound like. And I
He could
I
have
would have
cut you
liked.
off 5 minutes into the read. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, part of me was like, man, why didn't we just do the whole table read in the British accent? But I guess
Right.
he wanted to see it. He wanted to hear it, and felt as though it needed a little something else. So then the next day, we start shooting, and I show up as a British rock star, and the rest is Christmas movie history, as they say. As far as
Right.
preparing for the actual voice, this is kind of funny. I've always been like a big mimicker, a mimic.
Okay.
I can hear things and replicate them pretty well. A lot of my friends know that I have a voice. I have an impression for almost every person that I come in contact with to a degree. Um, Sometimes the voices end up, cross contaminating, but I do a lot of voices and I like to listen and repeat like a goddamn parrot. And
Sure.
I had made a documentary about Kelly Maloney, who is a British boxing promoter. And while I was editing this documentary, shout out to Robbie Savage, who cut the movie with me. We used to we'd be in the editing room, and everyone in the doc is British. Kelly's whole family is British. So I'd just be hearing these British accents in the editing room for hours and hours at a time. And again, I'm a mimic. So when I listen to something, if I listen to it long enough, that shit's just going to be burnt into my head.
Yeah.
And Robbie and I would occasionally, Kelly, if you're watching, please don't get mad. We weren't making fun of you. We were just having a little laugh. But we would occasionally do the British accent in the editing room. I'd be like, Robbie,
Sure.
could you hand me that, please? Yeah, you can't help it. British accents are funny like that. And I mean this with no, I'm not insulting British people at all. It's goddamn contagious to hear a British accent. When you hear a British accent, you're probably going to just do one. And it's kind of funny because I was basically
Yeah.
just doing
Tally
sort of
ho, Tommy. Tally ho.
I was taking what I learned from the Kelly documentary, Knockout Blonde, right down to,
Right.
the cadence and the different words that they use. And I was using it in the doc, and I think it worked pretty well. Um, but it's kind of funny because, like I said, British accents are contagious. That shit starts to spread throughout set like wildfire. And by the end of the shoot, I shit you not, I would say just about everybody in the crew was talking in a British accent at one time or another. So I'm proud of the fact that I was able to sort of infect the crew with this British accent. So by the end of it, everyone's saying like, "All right, what scene are we doing next? Then could you point me in the direction of the crafty table?" So it's fun, man. Accents are fun. But it's kind of interesting. Here's a little unknown tidbit about my accent and my part. I was nervous about doing the British accent because anybody who knows dialects knows that there's probably 20 different types of British accents. All within England, there's a Cockney accent, there's the proper British accent, and I don't know them. I'm guessing. I'm not trying to tell you that
Right.
I did some long study on British accents. I didn't. I was just doing that kind of based off of memory and instinct and what I heard in the documentary. But I was nervous because I felt as though like any real British person is going to see me coming from a mile away and be like, "That's a bullshit accent. Get the fuck out
Right.
of here. You're Australian 1 minute, you're British the next minute, you're somewhere in between after that." Consistency is the key with accents, and I'll be honest with you, I was probably all over the fucking place with the consistency in my British accent. So I said to the
It wasn't that
director,
bad. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was funny.
I
Go
I
ahead.
appreciate it, but you're not a British guy. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
if
I'm not.
you were
Tally ho.
if
Yeah.
you were British, you'd probably look at my accent and just start fucking laughing. So I
Right.
said to Jake, the director, not that I'm trying to be difficult here, but wouldn't it be cool if at the end of the movie, my character, who I eventually end up with the Cassandra character, who's, the girlfriend in the beginning, wouldn't it be cool if he came to her and just said, "I have to tell you something." And she says, "What?" And I go, "Yeah, this accent was a bunch of bullshit. It's just a gimmick to sell more records. I'm actually from Detroit, but if you'd like, you could accompany me up to my room and we could have a fun evening together." So at the end, I said to Jake, "Can I say that to her? And can we just do this little switch up where at the end it's like, wow, this guy was fucking American the whole time. Damn it." And Jake liked the idea at the time, and we shot the scene. So it didn't
Oh
make the
yeah.
edit. It ended up on the cutting room floor. But there's actually a scene at the end of the movie where I go up to Cassandra and I tell her, "Hey, can I tell you something?" I'm actually not British. And I thought it was really funny and I thought it was a hit and I thought it kind of would, cover my ass. That way, if anybody watched the movie and said, "Hey, that guy's accent is shit," Well, by the end of the movie, you'd be like, well, he's an imposter, mate. He's a fucking imposter.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so my point is, I wanted to go with that. I don't know if it was Jake's choice to cut that scene, or again, it very well could have been the distribution company to cut they lay down a bunch of notes when they put these movies out. So
Sure.
whoever's idea it was to switch it at the end, to not switch it at the end, I respect your decision. I guess you felt as though my British accent was authentic enough, and we wanted to just, as they say, get to the finish at that point. But I did think that would have been funny. And see, Kim says my mom is English and thought you're. Oh, really? She thought my accent was spot on. Well then, I never knew your mother was English. Tell her cheerio. And thank you for that wonderful compliment. And Miss Ash says the accent switch would have been funny. Exactly. I thought it was a funny moment. It's called a rug pull in comedy. The tactic is
I
called a
think,
rug.
yeah, I can see
Anytime
it. I can see it going either way, but
anytime you can
I
get the
guess
audience to be have the rug pulled out from under them, it
sure.
provides something unique and fun, and I thought that that's what we were doing. Um, but it didn't work out, Mike.
I can see why, to play devil's advocate and take the other side of the conversation. I can see the choice to leave that scene out because a couple of reasons. One, it kind of diminishes the previous 90 minutes we've just spent with this character and all the characters if we find out one of them is a fake, a phony. It's more of a romantic, I guess, than just a straight out comedy or even a dramedy, as sometimes people use that term, a mix of drama and comedy. I think it would have added something, but I don't think it's something that was necessarily needed for this particular movie. And then I think, like you said, we want to get to the finish. The focus at that point is on the Merry Xmas partners, and your character and Cassandra are kind of more like the B story consolation prize for each other. Of course, as an actor, you always think of your own character as the lead because you are playing the lead in your own movie. But for the overall package of this thing, it felt like they wanted to kind of tidy up the ends. You and Cassandra are getting tidied up pretty well with just carnal lust at that point, and which it really pays off your character. Like you've kind of established that you're a hound dog, and so you getting a girl at the end is good for you. I kind of see that as, and if he was a bullshit artist with the accent, I don't think he would have told Cassandra because he still wants to have his pleasures with her for a while before he starts telling her the truth about himself.
Yeah, again, it's just I'm a big fan of the rug pull. It would have been a nice
Sure.
rug pull at the end, and nobody, it's one of those things where, as they say, nobody would have seen it coming. But like you said, when you're an actor, you lay it all on the line, you put it all out there, you give the filmmakers every part of you, you give them as many options and choices and ideas as you can. And then you have to understand that as the actor, you're going to say bye bye. And these filmmakers, the director, the editor, the producers, the distribution company, they have to sit with it and make sense of it and put together the number one best package that they can of the film. And sometimes, like you said, that means the actors don't always get their way. And not to say
Right.
that again, this was me getting my way. It was just another choice, another option. And as they say, you're always better off for shooting it and having it and knowing that, like, hey, you never know. And I've been in situations like this. It wasn't a long scene, the scene that I'm talking about. It probably running time would have been maybe 90 seconds added to the movie, that whole scene. Um, and you never know, to play the devil's advocate, maybe they had already, like you said, they got to a point where like, oh, we got to end this movie. But it's nice to have it because the movie could have been 2 minutes short, and they might have said to themselves, "Damn, we got to add a couple minutes of runtime to this thing. What do we do? Oh, we get that scene where Thurston flips about his accent." So I'm glad that
It's
they
good
had
that
the
you filmed
option.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they had the option, and they didn't choose to use it. And like you said, again, not that I don't care either way. I thought it was a fun scene, but I also, like you said, like I see why they didn't choose to use it because it keeps my character a little bit more intact, if you will. His
Yes.
character, meaning the character's character, remains more intact by not showing that he's a bullshitter.
Thurston is Thurston throughout, and you can save this big reveal for the sequel.
There you go. Merry Xmas 2. You never know. Could be in the works. Uh,
Back in the X, yeah.
I want to say hi to Anna, who just chimed in. What's up, Anna? It's been a while. We'd love to have you back. Um, talk about a couple other actors. You mentioned Scout Lyons. Scout's a terrific actor who really, this was like her first chance to really shine in this film. And she did a great job with that 1993 flashback. It's kind of crazy to think that. I mean, this is me just dating myself, old man talk, but I remember 1993, man, pretty vividly. Isn't it funny that like that shit's a flash? It's not just a flashback now. 1993, it's a motherfucking distant memory. 1993.
It's
It's
a
like
generation ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we're flashing way back to the beginning of this character's life, and it's only the 90s. So, man, time marches on, doesn't it? But Scout Lyons did a really great job. I want to also talk about Chris Whitcomb, who is a great actor and a personal friend of mine. Witty, as we call him. Witty and I have worked together on quite a few movies. He's been in movies that I've directed. He was in Johnny and Clyde, which will be coming out a little bit later in 23. Um, and he's just again, we're talking about like the family aspect, just a great guy to be with and hang around. And, aside from his level of talent, just um, confidence builder. There's nothing like at the end of a scene, you do something funny and guy like Witty will come up to you and be like, man, that was awesome. That was so fucking funny when you said that or when you did this. And, all those things, they build us up and they keep us confident. Actors are, I don't want to speak for everyone, but actors are fragile, okay? We're kind of head
Yeah.
cases. There's a reason why we're doing this. There's a reason why we can manipulate our emotions. And some actors need a little back pat every now and then just to know that, like, your character's on the right path. And Chris is really good to be there and kind of pick you up after every scene and let you know that, like, man, that was great stuff. And
What was
he
Chris's
inspired
character in this?
Chris was the new love. He played the young part, one half of the young couple at the bar. Um, and he
Oh,
played
yeah, he was good.
opposite Nadia Amin, who
Yes.
Nadia, this was her first movie, and I think she did a really great job, especially for it being her first time in a film like this. But she does spend an awful lot of time in front of the camera, just a different type of camera. Nadia is a world famous, world ranked video gamer. She is a literally world class gamer. At the time this movie was shot, I don't know if the record's been beat, but at the time of the filming of this movie, she held the record for most kills in a Call of Duty video game session. So she
Hmm.
holds the record for most kills out of any female in a Call of Duty round. I think she killed like 32 people or something crazy. Uh, in any other space that would put you in jail, but in the Call of Duty world, killing that many people makes you a goddamn legend. So Nadia has some amazing hand-eye coordination, but she's also just a great personality. She has a massive Twitch following, so check her out. It's Nadia Amin, Amine. And she's, like I said, world class gamer. And it was cool. She definitely respected the movie set space, as somebody who had never been in a movie before, uh, and somebody who definitely could have an ego if she wanted to. I mean, she's got uh, a ton of followers and amazing fanfare for all the cool things that she's done in the video game world. But she kind of put that aside and just came in and did her thing. So it was really cool to work with her. And I think Nadia and Chris had a great chemistry together.
Yeah,
Um,
I think their relationship of the characters was very true to. It'd probably be Generation Z. It wouldn't even be millennial. It'd be post millennial, but kind of people in their early 20s. There's almost, to me at least, a father daughter type of relationship between Nadia's character and the bartender played by Jason London. I think it's referenced that Nadia's character works at the hotel, That's sometimes, and then she actually gets to play some video games, and she kind of takes, it's obvious that Chris's character is interested in hers, and eventually she gives the guy a break. She gives him a window of opportunity, so to speak, which I thought was appropriate and cute. And I thought the two of them, like you said, had good chemistry with each other.
Yeah, I like how she played it. She kinda played it she was tough, she played the character kinda tough, and that was a cool choice. We always love to see you read a script and you're not sure what choices an actor is gonna make, and sometimes they'll do something that you just didn't see coming, and you say, "Oh, that was cool. She's playing it kinda edgy. She's kind of the tough girl behind the counter, and maybe that's because she's projecting some of her own emotions, which we find. And what that does is it adds depth to the character, and it makes the characters pop. Let's go down the list here. Shout out to David Apuzzo, our good friend David, who's a very talented and terrific photographer. Does a lot of the set stills, and in fact was the still photographer on Mary Xmas. So a lot of the great pictures that you see of this movie, right down to the cover art on the cover of the movie, the poster of the movie, all that was shot and photographed by David Apuso. So we're happy to have you live with us. And David's another guy that film sets. You can be one or two ways. A film set could be kind of like this militant group of people that just kind of march forward and get their job done, and everyone's a little gruff and not a lot of friendliness. Or some film sets really true to dive into the corny comparison. Some film sets really are like a family, and you're happy to see everybody. And in the morning, it's hey, how you doing? What's up, brother? Hey, what's shaking? What'd you do last night? This was one of those movie sets. This definitely had that kind of warm fuzzy feeling where for lack of a better phrasing, just everyone was really nice. I mean, it sounds corny, but um, a lot of great people came together to make a great movie. David was one of them. John Mulkerin says she is a hacker. I think we're talking about in reference to
Nadia's
Nadia.
character.
Do we mean like an actual hacker? Like, could she hack into the government and maybe I don't know, hack into a bank account for me
Shall
and
we
throw?
play a game? Yeah.
Can she throw? Yeah. Would you like to play a game of was it thermonuclear warfare?
Yeah. War
Mike is
Games.
making a reference to War
Matthew
Games.
Broderick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what a great movie that is. That movie was far ahead of its time, talking about global domination. And basically, that movie basically explains the internet before the internet
Right.
was like a fucking thing. Um,
Yeah.
and is currently voice chat banned for being toxic and abusive to everyone she plays with. Well, hey, John, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know much about that. And again, this is all news to
Ah,
me, but
boy. Well,
thank you.
we
Thank you for watching the show, John.
get our team of defense lawyers on that one. Hey, Tommy, I want to mention that you got to sing, and this is really cool, man. You got to sing Santa's Sack, which is the end credit uh, exit song of this whole movie. And I sat there and I watched the whole credits, and it was cool because basically your song, you singing, and you can tell us about that process, carries us higher end credits, and it really is well timed, and I thought it was enjoyable. It was a funny song, but it's kind of like, in the tradition of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, a holiday humor song, which is kind of hard to pull off. So tell us about Santa's Sack, so to speak.
Thanks, man. Anybody who knows me personally knows that I've always been a little bit of a hack musician. I'll once in a while I'll fiddle with my guitar and sing some songs and stuff, and I don't get to do it nearly enough. It's the first thing that goes whenever I get busy. It's like there'll be months that go by where I don't pick up my guitar and I don't sing a song, but I love doing it, and it's definitely something that I've always wanted to do in a movie. So being a rock star, in the film, Jake and I were kind of talking like, hey, he came up to me, he was like, hey man, like, start to think of some funny songs, like song lyrics. And I remember we referenced a couple songs in the movie, and we were kind of like, wouldn't it be funny if like he had a couple tracks that we could maybe sing? And there's this one scene at the bar where I sing basically what would become the lyrics to Santa's Sack. And it was totally improv, to be honest with you. It started with me saying something like, again, Jake would just let me like on the last take of every scene, he would kind of just let me let it fly. And I remember just saying like, hey, you know what? That reminds me of a song. It kind of goes like this. And I just started singing rhyming and making up bullshit. And then Jake was like, wait, no, stop, hold on a second. I think you got something here. And we took a couple of the words that I rhymed and we added a few other, and Jake came up with a hook and I came up with a couple lines. Next thing you know it, in like literally a matter of 5 minutes, we wrote the lyrics. This is Santa's sack, and I'm coming down your chimney. And it became like this vulgar song. It's December 25th, and they're coming to feel me. And it kind of just like, literally wrote itself, like one silly line after the other. And I broke it out. I did a little spin move and a dance. And everyone in the bar and everyone in the scene, we were all just like laughing like fucking crazy. And then Jake came up to me and was like, hey, man, I was thinking it'd be really funny if the end of the movie we do like a produced version of Santa's Sack so that we get to hear like Thurston's holiday hit. Almost like this is the song that he penned while he was trapped at this hotel. And we shot the movie, and I thought they were kind of just kidding. It was one of those things where I was like, is this really going to happen? Probably not. I was just happy that one of my silly little songs made it into the cut of the movie. And then sure enough, like a couple months after the movie was edited and it's all together, I get a call from Jake, who's like, hey, Tommy, David Bateman, who I've mentioned David on this show many times. David's a really talented composer, and David did the music on this. Hey, David's going to write some music to this. Check it out. He sent me a link, and fun kind of guitar-driven ballad. Almost reminds me of like the opening to like the Saved by the Bell theme song. It kind of has like a throwback 90s rock vibe to it. And Jake had kind of taken the lines that we did in the bar, added a little bit to it, made like a second and a third verse. I'm sure David was heavy-handed in like kind of formulating the, verse, chorus, or however the hell that works, bridge, hook, all that bullshit. And then sure enough, they sent me the music, and this was not a high-tech process, man. I mean, I literally like, see this right here? An iPhone, believe it or not, this is like one of the best mobile recording studios that you can have. You'd never believe it by listening to the song because it sounds great. But I recorded Santa's Sack not in a fucking music studio, not in some fancy mic setup with all the foam and the fucking egg crate and all that shit. No, I was literally sitting right here on the porch. I watched the video and listened to the song and the music. The vocals were dropped out, and I just did it straight through, beginning to end, the whole song. 5 takes, just like this, sung right into my iPhone. And I did it in 5 takes. And again, I'm not a recording artist. A recording artist probably would be able to do little pickups and, okay, I'm going to just pick up this take here. We're going to just do this one portion. I'm not like that. I don't have that kind of experience. So for me, I had to sing the whole thing all the way through from start to finish.
Sure.
And I wasn't satisfied until I did the whole thing perfectly, or as perfect as I could. And on the 5th take, I stepped away from the mic. I didn't fuck anything up. Sounded like it was pretty much in key. And that was it. I just was like, all right, go with God. Send this 5th take out. I sent the 5th take out to David Bateman. And the rest is music, Christmas music history. Santa's Sack was delivered down the chimney to all the people, and it's at the end of the movie. So if you're watching this film, watch the credits for about 30-40 seconds, and then Santa's Sack is going to kick in. It's going to be coming down your chimney pretty hard.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was a fun way to end the movie. Um, Overall, Tommy, I did like this movie. There was one thing, 2 words that I wouldn't say I didn't like about it. I rewinded this 3 times to watch it. But there was a scene where I won't give away all of it, but one of the male characters is trying to pay a compliment to a female character, and the words that he uses to describe battle proven, battle proven. And I'm like, I don't know if you could ever call a woman to her face battle proven and not get slapped in the ear. But that's just me. I thought it was one of those things that stood out because I'm like, I'm not sure if that works, but it got me to watch the scene 3 times because but
Now, like,
it's just one of those things where you see stuff like that.
What was the context of the scene? Because I recall vaguely that line "battle proven," but what was it in
Yeah.
reference to?
Well, basically, Vanessa's character and Kieran's character, they're the exes in Merry Xmas, and they're basically having their come to Jesus meeting where they're, and it's a little bit of a stretch for me to be honest with you, storyline wise, because Vanessa is saying he's basically ditching his girlfriend that's about 15 or 20 years younger than him, who he's just proposed to and just accepted, to go to his ex from high school that he dumped when they were 17 years old. And she's just finding is cheating on her with a 19-year-old woman somewhere, and she's got 3 kids with this husband guy. So she says, I'm going through divorce. I've got 3 children. Are you sure you want to be with me? And Kieran, as best he can, smiles at her and says, "You're still the same girl, battle proven and still sexy as hell." So the still sexy as hell is appropriate because Vanessa Angel is a
Well, I think,
bombshell, but battle proven to me, it just kind of it's not something that I think a woman would appreciate, and maybe that's just me. It seems like a backhanded way of putting somebody down.
I think that's a tough one, Mike. I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions, of course, but I think you'd have to be a woman to really understand if a woman would be offended by that or not. I think it's hard for us, especially in this day and age, to as men do the whole. I think a woman would be offended by it. You don't know, you're not a woman. So, I mean, I think that it was personally when I heard the line, it came off more as battle tested, meaning you've been through some shit. That's all. I don't think it was necessarily meaning like you've been through the rigors of
Having three
motherhood or
kids.
you're having through. I think it was more just like, replace the word battle tested with you've been through a lot and you're still here and you're still strong, kind of a thing. So, I don't think that we can. Again, I appreciate and respect your opinion, but I don't think we can dissect the dialogue to that degree in a film like this. I think that a lot of times, again, it's just lighthearted, easy listening kind of stuff. I don't think that it was written on with that deeper second level in mind.
I don't think it was written maliciously at all. It just to me it rang a little bit untrue to the nature of the scene, which is supposed to be this recollection or reconciliation between the two past lovers. It's just something that stood out to me,
Yeah,
buddy. I
maybe,
mean,
maybe he
I'll
could have
take a
said,
poll
yeah, we'll do an online poll, maybe instead
of
of battle proven, he should have just used the word experienced, life experience.
seasons like a fine wine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. To me, I would find seasoned as more of an insult. Like when anyone calls me seasoned, I'm like, "Hey,
You're
you
like
know,
pizza that's been left in the refrigerator overnight. You're better with the
what am I
morning
like a salted pork,
cold.
a pork sandwich?" Um, yeah, let's
Oh
see. Hold
man,
on. We
battle
have a
proven to
woman's
me
opinion.
sounded like a
Mike,
ship.
hold on, buddy. We've got
Yeah.
we've got a woman's opinion here. Miss Ash says seemed like he was saying she's experienced, which Miss Ash, we appreciate your feminine approach to this, or I should say, feminine interpretation of the line. But yes, I know what you mean, Mike. That was a
Battle
very Mike.
proven.
Mike just said a very funny line. You call me battle proven. What am I, an old ship? You call me an old battle? I get it, but
Battle proven female.
I think the
Oh
line
well,
was trying to say that she's got experience in life, unlike Cassandra, who didn't have any experience. She was just kind of uh,
right.
new at the game and was only concerned with whether or not she was going to get a new purse or not. Um,
Yes, that's true.
so, guys, my overall takeaway of this film, um, very fun, digestible content. This is what I would call easy listening movie fare. The kind of movie that you would put on while you're baking up all your Christmas cookies, getting ready for that family gathering. I personally like movies like that. I like movies that I can put on and I can be doing a couple things. And if you look up and you happen to miss a minute, you're not going to be like, wait a minute, what's happening here? It's a very digestible film. That's a credit to Jake Cooney and Molly Jacobs. Really nice script that they put together. And again, an accomplishment to the producing team, Chad Brady Jr., Paul Luba, David Gear, Chelsea Vale, for making this thing happen in 12 friggin' days. I mean, that is no
That's
small
impressive.
feat. Couple things. This movie was the really like right around the time when I started to create a lot of YouTube content. I was making a lot of videos at this time. So if you want to go back onto my YouTube channel, it's Tom DiNucci. You just punch it into your YouTube and you'll find me. Subscribe if you haven't already. I must have made a dozen videos, in and around a dozen videos behind the scenes every day. I would have my camera out. So there's a lot of great behind the scenes content, and they're all nice, short, easy to watch videos. They're a couple minutes long at a time, so they ain't going to take up your whole day. If you want to get a behind the scenes look at what this movie was like, go deep dive into my YouTube channel and you'll see them. They're all labeled like Merry Xmas Day 1, Merry Xmas Day 2. And I go pretty much through the whole production. And every day I did like a little 2-minute vlog about what the hell we were getting into. And it's fun, you know, a lot of the characters and cast, you know, they're all seen in it. You'll see Vanessa, you'll see Jason London, see Kieran, you see the whole gang. So go back and check those out if you're interested in seeing a little bit of a behind the scenes look at this film. And go out and watch it. You can get it right now. Mike said he watched it on Amazon. I watched it on Amazon as well, but you
Yep.
can also get it on Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Direct TV. If you're old school and you get the old cable box hooked up, you might still be able to get it off your TV. That's how my mom and dad watched this one.
Do they still make those
So
satellite dishes, Tommy? Is that is still direct TV? Do they make the
yeah, my dad watched this with rabbit ears on the TV in
That's awesome.
aluminum. It was aluminum tinfoil. No, I'm just kidding. That was an old deep cut rabbit ears. Yeah, so basically, check this one out while you're wrapping up your gifts.
Tommy, I do
Well,
have one technical
go ahead.
question about the movie. And it's I was just curious if was it a working hotel? Means the Crown Plaza open for business with paid hotel customers while you guys were making this movie, or how did you guys separate from any paying customers? And I'm just curious about that because it seemed like you had the place
Sure.
all to yourself, which is great.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. The hotel was 100% fully operational during the time. It was what they would call a slow period. You know, that it wasn't at full capacity, which certainly helped. But there were many times, I don't want to say many, but probably like, you know, if we shot 12 days, I would say at least once every other day, a random hotel patron would just kind of filter into the bar where we were shooting and try to order something. And they would just
Right.
kind of like, you know, we'd have PAs at the doors telling people to stop, but there's always a break in the security, and somebody would just walk in and be like, "Hey, hey, can I get a drink here?" And we'd be like, "Oh, we're filming a movie." And it's kind of funny because
Right.
it's like you'd think the people would like see the fucking lights and the cameras, but when you want your afternoon cocktail, you don't give a shit what they're filming in there. You just want to get to the bar. But how we were able to do it was this hotel has a bar lounge where we shot, where you can
Yeah.
order, you know, you can get your burger at the bar kind of a thing and picky foods. Um, and then they have a restaurant with an even nicer bar. It's a little newer. So this is sort of so we were basically in the old lounge, and since then the hotel has made a new restaurant. So they were able to have the actual patrons go to the real restaurant, the real bar, which is, you know, literally like down the hall, and we shot in this older lounge, which was still operational, but you can tell the hotel's trying to figure out what to do with the space.
Well, I thought it was impressive, to be honest with you, because I've been in situations filming in working hotels when it's uncomfortable, and there's really, but it sounds like you guys went in there with a game plan, and like you said, the slow season's always the best time to shoot in a hotel like that. And it sounds like you guys were respectful to the space, and they enjoyed having you there, which is always good to keep that connection strong, right?
We were, and you know, we love working there, and I have a feeling we'll be back there again for something.
Sure.
So yeah, guys, thank you for watching along with us. It feels really good to get back in front of the podcast space and cast our pods out to the world with Mikey here. I love doing it. I missed it. I didn't realize how much I missed it until we got on today and started chatting and spinning a yarn about Merry Xmas. We're going to keep the holiday season alive next week, and we're going to come at you with episode 28, where we'll be talking about Saving Christmas, which is a holiday movie that I directed and wrote.
Yes.
It has a backdrop of pro wrestling, which is kind of fun. A little bit of little family fun, a little pro wrestling. And I got to tell you, I'm
Little Ed
very proud
Asner.
of this movie. Ed Asner's in the film. The kids in this movie, we're going to talk about it all next week. I don't want to get into it, but just such talented child actors that I worked with on this film. They were really amazing. It's kind of funny because now they're both probably seniors in high school at this point, but they were 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, something like that. And just really inspired me, impressed the hell out of me. And it was fun to work with them. And we're going to dive into that one next week. So don't go anywhere. In the meantime, if you want to go back, like I said, take a look at those behind the scenes videos from Merry Xmas. They were a lot of fun, and we had a blast making them. And give this movie a watch. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Tom DiNucci. The subscriptions mean a lot to me. I really appreciate that you'd take a second out of your day to give me a click and see what's going on. And we'll be back next week. We're planning on keeping our, now that we're back, this wasn't like a one-shot deal. Mike and I are back. We've got a whole new season of podcasts ready and waiting for you. So we'll catch you next Tuesday with Saving Christmas. Mike, is there anything you'd like to close the show out with, my friend?
To Anna Jick, who says already she'll be next week, had
Yeah,
some further commentary. Yeah, MikeMessier.com. My YouTube channel is subscribed to Mike Messier YouTube channel. I was really appreciative to our friend Kim there, who put together a little birthday gathering for me up in New England at the good old cellos and so forth. And I had a great time up there, buddy. Thanksgiving was great. And just so on and so forth. But my books are available through my website, MikeMessier.com. And good to be here with you again, Tommy, and looking forward to next week.
All right, everybody. Well, y'all have a wonderful holiday week. I hope you did all your Christmas shopping. If you haven't yet, get your ass out there. You still got a couple weeks, and we'll check back in with you and assess your shopping progress next Tuesday on episode 28, the And Action Filmmaking Podcast. We'll see you later, guys.